I'm just going to read a couple more poems from Sparrow. One is for my daughter, Annie. It's called The Rose, 1984. You all know the song The Rose. Annie, it was the first full moon after equinox, and we drove after dinner with you asleep to the new house where you will grow up. As we drove, your father and I sang along with a popular song on the radio, a sad, thoughtful ballad about dying and being born again. A friend of his had written it, and he described how she got it word by word, then sang it piecemeal to her friends. Now it's just famous, and people sing it without thinking, as we do when we know things by heart. For my part, I knew how he felt telling the story, thinking of the forming lyric, the steady resistance of the accelerator pedal under his foot, the cool wind ruffling up one side of his hair as he drove, as he remembered aloud. I suppose he felt me worrying without thinking as I do, my foot against the floor on my side breaking out of habit. We kept looking back at you in the car seat, your head rolled back in its sun hat, striped by the full moon, your dreams your own as you slept. Amanda's song on the radio, our voices joined, then diverging into harmony, and your steady breathing into a starry background you would inhabit only briefly, already bored with the fame of babies. The moon rising into the gold of its billionth pressing, the new moon inside it already an embryo, your infant dreams follow each other one by one, till they're all a single thing, like the melody, still carrying us when memory suspends a word here and there. I try to remember how I felt carrying you, but I can only imagine it a kind of fame, part of the well-known ongoing, each little physical dream forgotten. But this, the moon rising, the rose on our lips, completely sentimental, the carrying of the tune. Annie, his hand on the wheel, the way he sang. And this is called A Private Matter. This is a poem that is actually, John and I were going to read it in two parts, but decided it was just a little too difficult to read in two voices. So, because there are many voices here, actually, there's one voice speaking the poem, the voice of someone who is really sick and tired of being grief-stricken all the time. And it may be a person who decides, that's it, I'm going to find what I think of as maybe the opposite of the language of grief. My late husband used to tear up screenplays and teleplays and things into telephone memo pad size. He was never frugal. I don't know why on earth he ever did this. But the odd thing was that when you would pick up these little scraps of paper that he had somehow made into memo size, you would find dialogue on the back, and you'd think, oh, what was this? Who was this saying this? You know, was this Neil Simon? You know, he would, whatever he had in his study, he'd sort of, things that hadn't worked out or he ripped up. So anyway, the voices that come in this poem are the voices of characters from screenplays or teleplays or film scripts, whatever. And I think that's about it. You'll recognize some of them actually are. There's one from Neil Simon, so you might recognize it, and one from the play Art. A Private Matter. You, never you, the new vessel, dark, light of the sprung soul, flung upward or shuttered, upringing, iridescent as a fountain. Eyes flickering wide open in sleep, and on the kitchen sideboard, backs of script pages, cut up by you to memo size. If someone jots a note, turns it over, there are the words. Dialogue of people you once became, or not. Laura says she cannot command the space station alone any longer. Can't he see this? Brent says he knows. He knows what she has been going through. I don't know what these words are for, just as I know you will arrive no more to counter this argument. You may have said these things aloud. You walked, you lay once beside me. Albert says suddenly, from a paper square, vague, cryptic, enigmatic, ambiguous. Claude says, how do you mean? I want to enter every semblance of you, profile, ideogram, rain light, zigzag kite, shifting plinth, even this comment from Mohammed. I should be going, this is a private matter. Earlier, Frida has said, you're upsetting me, Ira. Let me consider this private matter in anger, in terror, in reverence. Voiceless, let me consider a thumbprint, a top sheet. Margin shout. Here's Mark crying, bullshit. How can a man live in any other time but his own? At the tombstone, the fire pit, at the anchor dragged, brain red over consciousness, Ivan says, I don't see why I have to put up with your tantrums. In this private matter, I refuse the lilac, the anemone, all the lit banked candles. Rachel says, he's in the middle of nowhere, without an alibi. Bring me no alibi. Bring me instead one sprig, pale white, of your never-endlessness, one pulse leap inside the sick, brilliant rose of your not being. Holden says, that's my girl. Fire rose, ash drawn petaled, unpetaled along my wall of solitude. You hover, I lit, at falcon height, and Serge cries, read Seneca. Laura is alone in the space station, weeping. I am not weeping. I am emptying the pockets of my own monologues. I am listening to the semblances, what you were, who you've been. You're disastrously open-minded, a fragment says. It seems to me, though I ask for no feedback here in my space station, here in my former life where there is no gravity or this crushing gravity, in my kitchen, my open mind, where I listen closely to no connections, to you, David, know you.